I'm wearing my finished, well, I guess it's not mine, but hi everyone, welcome to the Pitchfork Fiber podcast. My name's Hunter and this is episode 18. Welcome to my apartment here in Logan Square, which is a neighborhood of Chicago, Illinois, where it's beautifully sunny outside, a little bit chilly, but nonetheless, it's a beautiful day. I'm really excited to be joining you here today to talk about all the things that I've been making and working on, ideas that I have upcoming about projects that I'm so excited for. So if you want to follow me on this journey and my journey in the future, click the like button down below, give me a thumbs up, and subscribe for more content. I do have an Instagram at Pitchfork Fiber where you can follow me, where I'm most active, and I love to hear from you all there, so make sure to stay around. It's May 6th. It's beautifully sunny outside, a little bit colder, brisk. It's mid-40s here in Chicago, and the sun is so bright, as you probably can tell. It's reflecting through the window, but we have a lot to talk about today. So many projects that I've kind of been dabbling in. So I think we should probably let's get started. As you can see, I am wearing my finished, well, I guess it's not mine, but the finished sweater. Isn't this absolutely stunning? I am obsessed with this gorgeous color work. The color, everything about it is perfect. The fit especially is unbelievable. This is by far the most well-fitting sweater I've ever made. And I don't know if it's because it's bottom up. I've been reading a lot about kind of the differences between bottom up construction and top down construction, particularly when it comes to like raglan increasing versus a circular yoke. And I just find that this fit is so perfect. It fits around the neck really, really, really well. And it's just really awesome. But this is the Huron Sweater by Jared Flood. This is made out of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter in the Hayloft colorway and the Bone colorway, which is the white part. I love this sweater so much, and it's technically not mine. I made this for my boyfriend for his birthday, and he has worn it a few times, but I seem to steal it quite a few times because it just is so lovely. I actually haven't blocked this yet, and I don't know if I really will. It fits really well for him, and it's really even, and I don't really see a reason to block it other than I think it would bloom a little bit more and make it a little softer. So I might try steam blocking, but for the moment it really is just wonderful. This fit, I cannot stress it enough, is so wonderful, and I contribute that to the pattern. The pattern is so awesome. Let me stand up for you and show you. This sweater hits perfectly around kind of the apex or the widest part of your hip bone, which for me is perfect. I don't necessarily want a sweater that's super long, and I also don't want something that's super cropped. I've done a 1x1 rib in tubular cast on the cuffs, around the waist and also around the neck, and that all was a modification. I have modified this quite a bit, just in those kind of aspects, that it was not written for a cuff. It was, I believe it was just garter stitch, and it rolled, but this definitely fit my and my boyfriend's aesthetic more, so I think it looks a lot better. The fit also is a little bit more boxy, and I actually love this about it. It's a little bit more wide and short, which I didn't think would be my personal preference, just because I'm not necessarily that wide. I'm more tall and lean, but it really cuts really nicely on the body, and I feel like it looks really great. So I could talk about this forever. I've worn it like probably once or twice a week for the past month or so since I finished it. And I mean, to be honest, like, I know why I'm going to be knitting it again. And you heard me right, I'm knitting this again. And I talked about it in my last podcast. But I loved this as I was knitting it so much. I didn't even have any of the color work done. I didn't have any of it done, but I just knew that I needed to have another one. Before we get to what I've been working on, I wanted to just show you how much yarn I had left over. I bought 11 skeins of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. This is an amazing worsted weight, very kind of like woolen spun yarn. These are 50 gram skeins with 140 yards per skein, and I bought 11, 9 in the body color and 2 skeins in the contrast. And I used all of them except for this amount. So I definitely could have scaled down on how much yardage I was going to use. I really had no idea how much yardage. I planned to make a medium size sweater, and then after I gauged, I ended up needing to make a small. So this is a small. So I do have a skein of each and probably about another half skein of the main body. So I mean, I definitely can do something with this in the future. I'm someone who I almost always go up a skein no matter what, just because I am always a little worried about losing or running out of yardage, and that's something that I don't want to do. I don't want to have to like worry about getting more, or especially if I hand dye the yarn myself, I don't want to try to dye more and then match it. I always try to overestimate, but I am pretty good at understanding yardage or kind of doing the math for that. But this one, since it was a different size than I had anticipated, that's where the 2.5 extra skeins come from. But moving on to works in progress, I have made a lot of progress on my sweater. This is my boyfriend Matt's, and I will still be wearing it, but I did make myself my own sweater. I'm knitting the same size, so really they are going to be identical but different colors. For my sweater, I am right now at the bottom ribbing. Same thing, 1x1 rib, tubular cast on. Actually, not tubular cast on, it's called the Italian cast on. And if you haven't used or heard of the Italian cast on, I recommend it, because I have seen a ton of people on Instagram, on YouTube, talk about the tubular cast on. Now, it produces a lovely rolled, almost seamless beginning to your knitting. It is quite finicky and takes a lot of time. And I have found that the Italian cast on produces basically the exact same result with so little work, so much less work with a lot less effort, let's just say that. And so I've been really excited because really this is my go-to cast on. It's so easy, it's memorizable, but you do cast on for knit stitches and for purl stitches. So when doing a ribbing, you're doing different cast on stitches versus just casting all on and in one way and then purling or knitting. So if you haven't looked that up, I would recommend just typing into YouTube Italian cast on. It's very similar to kind of the long tail cast on, but you're doing a different method for each purl and each knit stitch. So that's what gives you this really beautiful rolled hem. I enjoy it. It's super easy. I've memorized it, and it's no harder than a long tail cast on, but it gives you a much, I think, more professional look. So I have about, 15 rows of this, and I'm almost done, and I'll be able to start with my body soon. But this one I actually made the sleeves first, which is new to me. I almost always start on the body, but I have 2 sleeves done. Very exciting because these just went by very fast. I did them the exact same as these sleeves. I modified them quite a bit from the pattern themselves just because they did, in the pattern it is not a ribbed cuff, so I had to do some adjustments there. And I actually had a little bit of a problem when knitting both of these. One I knit, it's seemingly a very different gauge. I used the same needles, but one I don't know why, but while I was knitting, I realized, wow, I'm knitting really tight, and I don't normally knit tight. And I don't know if it was me like thinking, oh, I want this to fit better, or trying to redo I don't know. But I ended up knitting this one, and then I knit this one, and it was almost an inch shorter. And then I compared them, and I thought, well, that's weird. I need to knit now almost 11 more rows to make them the same. And then I looked at the ribbing, and I realized that the ribbing was much on the cuff. This cuff is about 1.5 inches of ribbing, and this one's only about 1 inch. So I realized that that's probably where my mistake was, but since it's really not noticeable, and it doesn't really bother me. I mean, I was all the way done with the sleeve, and I didn't want to rip out, so I just knitted more rows at the end to make sure that they're the same length. But 2 of these are done. The body is on its way. It goes so fast. Everyone, go out there and buy this sweater. It is unisex in the fact that you can add in waist shaping if you wanted. You can crop it. It's literally so versatile, and I love that about this. And I think that's what patterns are kind of moving towards, or they should, making them a little bit more universal for all body types, all genders. It's awesome. So that's that. I'm drinking out of this amazing cup that I just recently bought. It says, "It's okay to not be okay." Wait, it says, "It's okay not to be okay." And it's from Sip of Hope Coffee. Sip of Hope is a local coffee house in Logan Square. It's on Fullerton Road. Sip of Hope is a collaboration between Hope for the Day and Dark Matter Coffee. It is the first coffee shop in the world where 100% of the proceeds support proactive suicide prevention and mental health education. It's a perfect space for breaking the silence around suicide and raising visibility of mental health resources in our community. How awesome is that? So when I go there and I buy coffee, I know that I'm supporting a cause that's much larger or greater than just coffee, but I'm supporting a community that's supporting everyone and making sure that mental health and suicide prevention is being pushed to the forefront of kind of what they're doing there. And it's amazing. Just the other day, they had an awesome little deal where they aren't necessarily selling coffee since it's not open, but you could buy coffee, beans, and anything from their merchandise store that they sell, t-shirts, hats, cups, and you got a free cup of coffee with it when you picked it up curbside. So I've wanted one of these for a while. Every time I go in, this is what you get your coffee in, and I just was like, I really want this. So it's very worth it, and it gives me something really, it makes me very happy when I drink from it. I'm also eating a shortbread cookie that I made yesterday. This is a super, let me show you. Super easy recipe. I don't know if you've ever made shortbread before, but it's just like a 1-2-3 ratio recipe. It's one amount of powdered sugar, 2 amounts butter, and 3 amounts a flour, you add a little bit of extract in there. I used almond extract, love it. A dash of salt, mix it up, put it together, put it in the freezer, cut it up, put it in the oven. It's done. Like, so easy. Yeah, type it in. I mean, really, it's like foolproof. It really, you just cream the butter and sugar, add in your flour, boom, done. So very good. I've been snacking on that. That's kind of been my fun treat. Really, for knitting, that's all I have for my actual knitting. However, I do have some really exciting news as well. I have teamed up with Galley Yarns to share with you all some amazing yarn that they have, and just to like let you all know about what they have at their what they sell. So I was sent in the mail these, I don't know if you saw on my Instagram, but I did make a little post. I've been sent 2 amazing yarn, skeins of yarn. This yarn is definitely the most luxurious yarn that I have ever felt, had in my possession, looked at. It's really luxurious. First of all, it is hefty because this is not just 100 grams. This is 8 ounces, which is 227 grams. This is like a big honkin' skein. This is the Premier Alpaca, or the Heather Prime Alpaca, which is 100% superfine alpaca. It's made in Peru. This is what kills me. It's crazy. It is grown in the Andes at 13,000 feet above sea level. Like, that's so cool. I don't know why that just like is so cool. I picture the alpaca like on a hill in Peru at extreme elevation. It's a lightweight 5.5 stitches per inch, recommended 4mm or 6 US needle. This is natural, and this is the poppy colorway. So, beautiful heather. If you can tell, it's like a poppy red, and then like hints of almost tan or orange tangerine popping through. It gives it extreme definition. This is a wonderful representation of the color. It is so deep in color. I don't know how else to describe it other than the heather is actually heathered with, it seems like 2 colors, and there's a lot of variation within the strand of yarn. This is the natural, which is heathered. It's like a lighter alpaca natural color with the darker spun together. The halo, I don't know if you can tell, but you can kind of see the fuzzies. It's so soft. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to be making with it particularly, or per se, but I have an idea about this one. I have a friend who's getting married in December, and I had wanted to make them a kind of a wedding shawl as a present, but also because it's a winter wedding here in Chicago, it's quite cold. The dress itself has sleeves, I believe, so I don't know if a shawl is really the vibe that they're going for, and I don't know if this color necessarily will, I don't want to say match, but I don't know if it's going to enhance, since I don't really know anything about the dress other than a photo I've seen. So, I'm probably gonna knit it out of this, but if it's not exactly right, I might try dyeing. Now, I don't know, but have any of you knitted something completely and then tried dyeing it after? I have never, and I know when I met with Christy Glass for her podcast, she had asked me, have you ever dyed an object that's already been fully knit? And I have never done that. So I thought this could be kind of a cool experiment. This wedding's color scheme is kind of dusty lilacs and purples. So I feel like this would be an awesome base to kind of create a dusty colorway on top of. But that's kind of plan B. Right now I want to knit the let me see. It's called the Beeswax Shawl. Have any of you seen this? It's really beautiful. It has a almost like building block honeycomb pattern in lace. It's a beautiful kind of diamond shaped shawl where it increases from one end, gets larger, and then decreases. So it is kind of a long, large, and wide shawl. And it just is so beautiful. I think this would be a beautiful kind of lacy shawl, but it also is, it's kind of mod in a way with the kind of angular shapes, the geometric, which aligns very well with this bride and her style. So I'm hoping that that is a good choice. It's not necessarily too frilly, if that makes sense. This lace is very geometric, mod. It reminds me of a paper pieced quilt, if that makes sense. I'll put up a photo to show you, but yeah, I'm really excited about starting that soon. I want to start that, but I want to finish my sweater first. Those are some things. What else have I been up to with the creating? I've actually been doing a ton. I haven't necessarily been posting a ton on Instagram because it's been kind of crazy, just like in general with everything. And I'm sure that a lot of you feel the same way. I have been working on a lot. And one of my larger projects that I have been working on is reupholstering a couch. That's right, reupholstering a couch. I've always been really interested in reupholstery, and I've watched tons of videos, and this is a couch where it's actually just cushions. It's not necessarily tufting or padding of arms and backs. It's just a wooden frame with cushions. So I thought this would be a wonderful place to start. My boyfriend and I, Matt, have decided to kind of refurbish or redo the patio. We have it's not necessarily screened in, it's like an outdoor space that's actually inside, if that makes sense. It's not like an all-weather room. It's more of like a deck that just has walls and windows, but is not heated. It's kind of just like a closed-in patio. That's how I would describe it. In the summer it's hot and in the winter it's cold, but it doesn't rain in there and there is electricity out there. So we had this space that was really just being used to store like some outdoor furniture. We do have a little small actual patio that's in the outdoors, in the backyard, but it's not necessarily ours. We share it with the other person who lives in the building. So we wanted a space for ourselves where we can maybe have dinner or just hang out with people once we're allowed to hang out with people and gather. And we thought this is a great time to kind of do a project at home. Like many of you, you probably have wanted to do something while at home. You're spending so much time at home to kind of make it feel a little bit more homey. And we wanted to take this kind of unused space and make it useful. So we kind of cleared everything out and we started to think, what do we want this place to be like? We kind of decided on a bohemian, I almost don't even want to use adjectives because I just want you to see it. It's very bohemian, lots of rattan, kind of wicker, natural, with kilim rug, pillows, just lots of texture. Lots of texture and really beautiful kind of subtle colors. Kind of went on back and forth about all these colors of fabric, what do we want to redo it with, and we came up with this. Ooh, this is not showing very well. That's more like it. It's a very dusty pink. It's a little bit lighter on the fabric. It's very light here. It's this color. It's slight variations. It's a dusty pink. It's a duck canvas, and I dyed it myself. So I wanted to show you actually in either this video or another video how I did it. And I'll probably include it in here a little bit later, maybe in another video, but I dyed the fabric and I dyed 4 yards, and this duck canvas is woven to be basically waterproof with such a tight weave that it doesn't allow a lot of penetration into the fibers. So it was definitely a unique dyeing experience, but I got a gorgeous color that I'm so happy with, and I want to show you the final results. Okay, so we're here in the bathroom and I'm going to be scouring some fabric. I'm going to be reupholstering a patio kind of couch love seat, and I have some fabric here. This is what I bought online, and it's a nice thick sturdy duck canvas. Here it's really nice and crisp and pretty, but what we have to do is scour the fabric to get rid of all that kind of nasty crud that's inside of it to make it look nice. So if you come here, you can see what I'm doing. I'm doing it with 4 yards of fabric, so I have a lot of it, so I'm doing it in the bathtub. But here I have the fabric that's been in some really hot water with a little bit of soap, and you see the nasty kind of yellow water. That's all the stuff that's inside of the fabric, and the reason we're getting rid of it is so that it can, when we add the dye, it will absorb all of that into the fibers, rather than having kind of this gross waxes and relaxers and things inside the fabric to make it look like this. So I'm gonna let this soak for about 30 minutes, get rid of all this stuff, try to get as much as I can, and then I'll come back, rinse it, and we'll be ready to start dyeing. So I have now added all the dye to this large bucket. The bucket is quite a few gallons of water in it, and we have all 4 yards of fabric submerged. I have the soda ash and the salt in there to help keep the dye absorbing constantly into the fibers of the fabric. It's pretty warm to hot water inside there. I'm going to let it sit for as long as I need it to get to the level of the shade I want it to be. And just remember that it's always going to be a lot lighter once it dries and isn't wet. So I'll be back once it's done. Sorry for the poor lighting, but right here I have all of my cut out pieces for my cushions. They have all been ironed. You can still see a little bit. I can go back once I've done a little bit more, but right now I have all of this cut out. I have little markers to tell me what each of them are, so I know what pieces are which. Also on my larger piece of fabric, I do have a pin marking the top of the fabric, so I know which direction I'm going, just in case you have specific dimensions. And then I also have my cording right here that I'm going to add to this. So I'm gonna do that first. Okay, this is our outdoor patio space. It's not fully finished, but let me see if I can get a little bit more. We have some lights. It's not done. I'll definitely do a final review, but it's just a little space. This is what I have upholstered. This color is a little bit hard to get the color because it's a little bit more pink in this. That's more of the color. But what I did was, you can see this is the unupholstered cushion, and then I put the cover over, and that's it finished. These are the 2 upholstered bottom cushions that I have done, and I am obsessed. If you can tell the kind of subtle pattern in right around here, I made sure that when I dyed it, I added a little resist just to make it look a little interesting. And it has created this beautiful kind of marble wavy pattern that is so beautiful. It adds just a little bit of something to it, and it matches perfectly with this kind of subtle mint green and the warm browns of the wood and the rattan. I think it looks beautiful. So that's really it for this week. I thank you for joining me, for coming along and seeing what I've been up to. I will be posting more. This has been pretty frequent for me, so I think it's working out well. I'm really excited about some things that I have upcoming. I'm going to be starting on a really cool quilting project. I have some fabric coming in. I need to bind a quilt. I need to which has been in process for a while. I have some new fabric coming in hopefully soon that I'm going to start another kind of summary project. So I have a lot of things that have been coming in, and a lot of my time I've been spending at home. I've been kind of scheming up things that I want to do to bring me joy through crafting and making, but also keeping me busy. And I've really been enjoying hearing from a lot of you on how you're all doing, so I keep doing that. And I really hope that you get time to spend making things that you enjoy and putting your love and heart into lots of crafts. So thanks so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon.